Hello again, welcome back to the channel. It's DigiFox. Today we're going to be talking about 3 new online articles that have news in the crypto space. Now, first and foremost, none of this is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. Everything said here is 100% our opinion. So let's get into the news, shall we? First, right here on your screen, you see ex-JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank employee charged with crypto fraud. How ironic is that, right? So we see here that a registered broker named Rashawn Russell was arrested in New York yesterday for promising altcoin riches. We're not going to go too much into the article, but we will say that apparently a 27-year-old registered broker was arrested yesterday and will be arraigned today in New York court, the Justice Department said on Tuesday. Apparently, this individual was taking money from their clients and using it for personal gain, with the guaranteed return of 100% in their investment to them, right? But what made it even more interesting is if we look here in the article, it indicated that not only did he use the funds for personal privileges or whatever, but he was providing documentation indicating that the funds given to him were creating a profit, and he was telling his clientele that, hey, guess what? You just made 100% over the last 3 months. That is insane. Considering it's a bear market, that's he's giving crypto a very bad name, and obviously gave JP Morgan a very, very bad name. So, unfortunate for him, but bad actors need to be punished, and unfortunately, that's exactly what's going to happen to this individual. So this came to you from decrypt.co. Next, we have Fidelity, Bank of America's indirect exposure to Bitcoin through MicroStrategies. Major financial institutions may not have an ETF, but they have MicroStrategy, which is strongly correlated with BTC. And so if you look at MicroStrategy's stock, you will notice that it moves up and down with Bitcoin because he was one of the first ones, if not the first one, to actually accumulate BTC by the droves, right? I mean, just literally backed up the truck and started buying it, took out loans on BTC and the likes, and just literally was a pioneer in it, right? As far as institutions go that are investing in BTC. And the ticker symbol for MicroStrategy, if you are interested, again, we have no position in MicroStrategy, but on the stock market is MSTR, which is located right here. And through the end of March, Bank of America was showing 86,147 MicroStrategy shares purchased over the course of the first quarter. So that is, if you're not familiar with quarters and finances, that's roughly from January to March of 2023. Yeah, January 1st through March 31st. We see here that the purchases were made over that time. Fidelity, according to an SEC filing, snapped up 97,000 shares over the same period. Shares have closely tracked the price of Bitcoin since the company began holding the digital currency as a reserve on its balance sheets. And scores of traders still view the stock as one of the closest publicly traded proxies for spot Bitcoin exposure. Now, if you are listening, we will be providing a chart. Here is a chart right here. And you can see that it's actually in a downtrend. This is the BTC versus MicroStrategies over the past 2 years. And you can see that there's a massive correlation. MicroStrategies is the the pink or purple line, whichever you want to call it. And Bitcoin is the orange line. And you can see that they literally almost mirror one another to a T. Now, this is not financial advice, but what we will say is if you are interested in Bitcoin, why not just buy Bitcoin on its own? It makes absolutely no sense for you to invest in an ETF when you have the capabilities of investing in Bitcoin itself. And then you move it off ledger and you own the actual asset. Now, if you do have some money in a brokerage account and there's no way of actually purchasing Bitcoin, then this very well may be your only option. Especially if you have like a retirement account and you have cash on the side because you were educated and you know how to chart and you knew how to essentially play this crazy market we've been having for the past few years. So if you have cash on the side, then clearly, yes, obviously, this may be your only option to invest in ETFs, to invest in companies that have Bitcoin in their reserves, such as MicroStrategy. So nice little tidbit here. If you're new to crypto, this is something you need to think about and you need to dive into. We're not giving you financial advice. We're just giving you our opinion as well as providing you with information. Next, on a global scale, this is going to be some interesting news. The G20 nations to discuss crypto regulations under India's G20 presidency. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said crypto is an important part of the discussion under India's G20 presidency. The leaders will be meeting in Washington, D.C. Now, if you're American, right, you do realize that cryptocurrency has a bullseye in the back of its head, in the front of its head, in its bum, in its back, in its chest, everywhere, right? Everyone's coming for it. Every single every single government agency within the American flag is gunning for cryptocurrency, either to regulate it, to outlaw it, to whatever, right? And what you have to realize is this meeting is being held in Washington, D.C. Now, this could go either way, right? This could go either to the way of, hey, you know what? We have a go by, right, as to how we could regulate this so that we are not cutting ourselves off of cryptocurrencies and the underlying technology. And I'm speaking on behalf for Americans, right? And now, or this could actually be something that other nations come together at Washington, D.C., and they tell Americans, hey, we're going to go ahead and do this. We are going to essentially, not directly, but indirectly, ditch the United States dollar in exchange for cryptocurrencies, as well as use the underlying technology to their advantage. At which point, that would just literally add another bullseye on cryptocurrencies. So this literally could go either way. This is going to be something that you need to review and bookmark, right? This is coming to you from CoinGate.com. This is going to be a very important meeting, specifically because you have multiple nations coming to Washington, D.C. to express their concern for the lack of or the potential regulation of cryptocurrencies and how it helps their countries and other countries on a global scale. So this is something that needs to be really looked at very, very closely, right? And we see here that India will co-chair the Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable with International Monetary Fund, also known as the IMF, as well as the WB, the World Bank, on April 12th, which is tomorrow. On the 14th of April, in 2 days, a high-level seminar on macro-financial implications of crypto assets will be held to review the macro-financial implications of crypto assets and discuss policies to leverage benefits and contain risk. So, ladies and gentlemen, cryptocurrency is here to stay. It is not a scam. It is not a fad. It is literally going through the regulation processes through different countries throughout the world, high-power countries. So, if you are new to crypto, you really need to get on board and educate yourself. Next article is coming to you from payments.com. Fed says Fednow early adopters pave path to instant payments. So, for those of you that do not know, Fednow is a Federal Reserve. The American Federal Reserve is going to issue monies via a CBDC variant or maybe the actual CBDC. And they are even enticing institutions that early adopters may actually be rewarded. I mean, passively, that's exactly what they're saying here in this article. Whether or not that's true, we don't know. We may never know. But it will be launching in July. And this is kind of scary because there's a lot of framework coming in this that is very, very troubling. Some individuals say it's great. This video here will show nothing but individuals saying that it is great. It's 40 minutes. We're not going to play it. We might get copyrighted for it. So we're not going to be doing that, right? If you're interested, again, we'll provide a link in the description for this actual website, which you can go ahead and look at your own time. Essentially, this is just saying that it will be launched on the 1st, I believe, of July. Yes, July. The first week of July, Fednow will be launched. And as of now, there's nothing that's stopping it, right? But there are individuals in the Americas that are actually interested in stopping it. And those individuals are as follows. Robert Kennedy, yes, that last name should be very familiar, especially if you're American, says Fednow is first step to banning Bitcoin. Robert Kennedy Jr. says central bank digital currencies, also known as CBDCs, could lead to financial slavery. Slavery? What's slavery? That sounds like some kind of slang word for like ice cream or something. Anyway, financial slavery and political tyranny. And now, oops, so I am not subscribed. No, thank you. Right, so a presidential candidate is indicating that Fednow is something that's not good for cryptocurrencies. And we see here that he pointed out that this could be the first step in banning and seizing Bitcoin, as the Treasury did with gold 90 years ago, today in 1933. So for those of you that not familiar with America and the gold situation, right around the Great Depression, gold was seized from the citizens. They made it un-American. They told you were unpatriotic. They even issued you, made it illegal to own gold. And they did so for decades. Decades. And then not only did they confiscate your gold, they took that gold and then they upped the price literally weeks after they accumulated all the gold that they had acquired from their citizens. They upped it by $10. I think gold was $25 at that time, and then they upped it to $35. Literally, over the course of a couple of weeks, it just massively gained price. Bitcoin could be confiscated by Americans. And how are they going to do that? Well, as we see here, the Fednow is probably one way they're going to do that, right? So they will be able to do that in the form of, apologies, they will be able to do that in the form of closing off your on and off ramps. Meaning, if you have a bank account, you won't be able to go on crypto exchanges to buy Bitcoin. And if you have Fednow, right, and you have Bitcoin and you want to exchange it for dollars, US dollars, you won't be able to. And then not to mention, there's another law, which we'll talk about later on, that is creating essentially a firewall around America. So you're going to be tracked. Bitcoin could be tracked to your wallets, but at the end of the day, what are you going to do with it? It's just going to be in your wallet. So that is something that needs to be really looked at. And he's not the only one. We also have Ron DeSantis, who is also on the same train as far as saying that Fednow is not good, right? And we see here this nice little picture coming to you from Cointelegraph. So this is a major issue because literally it's only a couple of months away, and that could be scary for American friends. It really, really can. It really can be when you have Fednow and then they're trying to cut off access to Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be essentially cut off from Bitcoin, right? If you're an American, you get a VPN. But the issue is now, is that going to be illegal? And what is the consequences of it? So quite interesting stuff. A lot to talk about today. Hopefully you got it. We'll end it right there. So happy days, happy trading, and good luck to every single one of you.